Okay, so today we're going to be talking about like a very important technique in combinatorics, and uh it's called stars and bars. And so the idea of stars and bars is this technique can be used to solve questions called like distribution questions. So in many combinatorics questions, like a very common question that the AMC might ask you could be something like, suppose you had like 10 pieces of candy and uh maybe you have like 5 people. Then a very common question would be like, how many ways are there to take these 10 pieces of candy and like give it out to these 5 people? So for example, you might be able to give 2 pieces of candy to the first person, 1 piece of candy to the second person, 3 pieces to the third, 3 pieces to the fourth person, and like 1 piece to the last person. And we're interested in counting how many ways are there to split these 10 pieces of candy among these 5 people. So this is what we call like a distribution question. And distribution questions are like pretty common in math competitions in general. And one of the most common techniques that can be used to solve these distribution questions is called stars and bars, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So first, before we talk about like the technique on how we might solve these kinds of problems, it's important to know that like stars and bars, this technique only works for uh, objects, only works for distinguishable groups, but indistinguishable objects. So what that means is, so we have like just a few important like vocabulary terms. So when you say that like two objects are, or when multiple objects are distinguishable, that's just like a fancy word of saying like that the objects are different. And similarly, the word indistinguishable is just like means like that the two things are like the same. So if I have like 2 balls and the 2 balls are like identical, then we can say they're indistinguishable. It's just like a fancy word. But if the balls maybe have like different colors or something, like maybe one ball is red, one ball is blue, then we say that the balls are distinguishable. So just know that these are some important terms. So this technique, stars and bars, only works if we have distinguishable groups but indistinguishable objects. So in this example with like candy, people and candy, like the candy kind of represent the objects and the people kind of represent the groups. So in order for this technique that we're going to talk about, in order for it to work, we have to assume that the people are like different and the candies are all the same.